What's wrong with Trump's view of the TPP? Essentially, he's exaggerating the impact the trade agreements have on U.S. economic activity. But if you look at our trade balance with TPP countries, with the 11 other countries, we did have an overall trade deficit of about $176 billion in 2015, and even a larger deficit in manufactures. 75% of the deficit with TPP countries was with Japan and Mexico. And so, logically, who was President Trump talking to right off the bat? Japan and Mexico. But if you look at the manufacturing deficit, which is even larger, about 1/3 of it is taken up by autos from Japan and the NAFTA countries. And interestingly, the TPP, despite lots of negotiating on the topic, the TPP made little change in foreign access to the U.S. market for autos. And so trying to say that the TPP exacerbated this problem or caused this type of deficit, I think is a bit of a stretch. The other concern was that there was an erosion of the manufacturing base in the United States. We've done a lot of work on that here. I'm not going to summarize the extensive analyses of my colleagues, but there's just one table one chart here that makes the point very simply. The green line is employment. The blue line is output. Output has been going up, and it's now at near or at record levels. U.S. manufacturing output. Employment has been going down for a long time. It actually hit bottom at the depths of the recession in 2009 and just picked up a little bit after that, a couple million workers. But the U.S. manufacturing is not in decline, but there is a decline in U.S. manufacturing jobs. Fewer people making a record amount of goods. The next criticism is more in my sweet spot, I'd say. To say that the U.S. paid too much for the TPP and got too little from other countries. Actually, USTR is filled with lawyers who are really misers. They don't like to change anything in the United States. The Congress tells them not to change any U.S. policies, and they're pretty obedient to their congressional masters. So if you look at the TPP, there was very little change in the auto tariff, almost no change for a long period of time, and the 2.5% tariff doesn't disappear for 25 years. Bilaterals have been put forward as an alternative. Deal with Canada and Mexico, either together or separately. Deal with Korea by updating the Korea-U.S. Free Trade Agreement. That hasn't been the priority at the start of the administration, but it has been the subject of a lot of criticism from the Trump trade team. And they'd focus on autos, they'd focus on steel, they'd focus on financial services and rice and currency provisions. And they'd want more from Korea in any negotiation like that. Similarly with Japan. While the Japanese have expressed interest in a bilateral deal, driven largely by their security concerns, but their trade offer is unlikely to be as generous as the TPP. Because in the TPP, they were able to make concessions that Japan never made before in agriculture and other areas, because they got benefits in other markets because of the United States. Japan also benefited from the United States knocking down some doors in Asia-Pacific markets. And so what I would suggest for the White House using an analogy that might be appropriate is that President Trump should take a mulligan on and tee up a new and bigger and better Asia-Pacific trade deal. Doesn't have to be the same deal, but something that would begin to fix the problems of TPP, improve upon them, take care of the concerns that were addressed last year in Congress on specific provisions of the TPP that were being renegotiated in the context of White House congressional discussions. So what can be done is to take the opportunity to deal with our important trading partners, to put together a deal, a broader deal, rename it. We can have a contest here at the Institute on what would be a better name than what exists already. Certainly expand the value of the original deal, achieve greater regional integration, and expend less political capital, U.S. political capital, than on a country-by-country bilateral approach. It would allow us to fix some of the flaws that had held up support for the Asia-Pacific deal in the Congress last year. It would allow us to add new obligations on currency manipulation, among others. And importantly, a new mega-regional deal would reinforce U.S. strategic leadership in the Asia-Pacific region at a most critical time. Thank you very much.